Wake up, wake up. Let's go. It's Friday, February the 20th. Damon and I've got a lot to get to. Let's get to it.
Slowest sports time of the year? Nonsense. We got plenty to get into. Welcome to Wake Up. Damon Bruce, Larry Kruger. It's great to be with you once again. Like and subscribe on both of these fabulous channels, if you will, please. We will get you through this offseason together. Thank you very much for being here. And Larry, let's just hop right in because, you and I get our eyes on the prize, and we obviously both want the 49ers to succeed. You grew up rooting for this team. I've been around them long enough thinking it's about to happen. It's supposed to happen. Then we got this last draft class through, and we're looking at it through sometimes maybe rose-colored lenses, hoping we see some things that are actually maybe not there. A very harsh, maybe possibly being a little generous and harsh at the same time, grade has come in for the 49ers 2025 draft class by Brent Sobelski of Bleacher Report. Would you like to go over it?
Sure. I mean, is this the guy that gave them the collective C-?
Yes, he did. And here's the thing. It's kind of hard to argue with that grade. It really is. It feels harsh. He does not mention anywhere during his write-ups what happened around these rookies. And I think when you're trying to evaluate who these rookies are, what happened around them is a big part of the story. But just looking at their individual productions, let's hop right in. He says the organization invested in the upside in Mykel Williams, knowing that he was far from polished. A season-ending injury didn't help matters. Williams is violent and athletic, but those traits did not result in production. He had 4 tackles for a loss and 1 sack in 9 games before an ACL injury, already has him damaged goods before he even gets through his rookie season. The best thing I can say about Mykel Williams is we do not know yet, but it wasn't the best start. That's for sure. The things that you were worried about I remember when I was in Japan sitting around waiting for last year's draft. One of the last videos I watched was you saying, sure hope the Niners don't draft Mykel Williams. Well, they did. And here we are a year in. What would you say Mykel Williams did? And how hopeful are you that he's going to really be something for the Niners next year?
Well, it was an interesting evaluation, right? Because the Niners were looking at one thing, and I'm looking at another thing. I thought they were looking for an edge rusher who's going to bend the edge and get the quarterback, and they were looking for a very specific player who could set the edge against the run on first and second down, and then flex inside to be an interior rusher on third down. So is that what they intended, or is that what they got? And then they just said, that's what we intended. You know what I mean? I don't know. Were they hoping that Mykel Williams was just a war daddy who was going to be a wreck shop inside and outside? And it turns out that he really doesn't have much pass rush. Because he didn't have the book on Mykel Williams that I thought was appropriate based on the film that I saw was that, what is he? Is he an undersized interior player, or is he an edge rusher without much of a rush plan? And, in talking to Robert Saleh, he talked about how he really thinks a player like Mykel is incredibly valuable. So if they looked at him as like some unique value hybrid player, that's one thing. But unfortunately, they passed on Walter Nolan, who would have been an every down, defensive tackle for them, and had, I think, 5 sacks or something like that. He definitely had more than Mykel in a shorter amount of time, by the way. So you could have had Walter Nolan. You also, I believe, could have had Jalon Walker. I'd have to go look at the list again, but I think you could have had Jalon Walker, who was the guy that I was arguing for, who was a smaller. Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge rusher? Is he a 3-4 outside backer? Is he a 4-3 defensive end? I mean, these guys are all kind of hybrid, rushers, and how do they fit? And, Mykel's a big rusher who can play inside. Jalon Walker is a small rusher who's more of a speed guy. I would have gone for Jalen Walker or Walter Nolan. That's what I was saying in real time. And
now I know that you were a big Shamar Stewart guy, and obviously,
I love Shamar Stewart. I love Shamar Stewart.
Bad situation. He didn't do anything in his rookie year either.
But,
and I
wasn't necessarily going to go with Shamar Stewart at 11. I'm just saying they were better players there. I liked Jedi Barron quite a bit, who went to Denver as a corner. I think the Niners definitely could have used a corner, especially since Barron, since JSN's in their division. So, I mean, but overall, I think a C- is a pathetic grade, because the bottom line is you got a contributor in Mikal. Collins is a strong interior player.
Well, hold on. Let me.
I know he wasn't great against the run, but
before you strip it through, let me go through it piece by piece here before you do the full synopsis. So, Mikal Williams, I think it's fair to say it's an incomplete. We just don't know yet. But, when watching, he did not flash. He did not pop very much. He did not stick out on film. And little bit of a concern, an already torn knee, was injured at Georgia. When things start going wrong with lower limbs, it's a warning sign. I don't know. I really don't know. We'll find out. And I see a lot of people in the draft saying, or in the chat saying, you can't just evaluate a grade, evaluate a draft class after 1 year. Oh no, this is just a first year grade, first year impact grade. He then writes, Alfred Collins should have provided a very specific skill set as a massive interior defender. Instead, he struggled against the run. The third round generated mixed results.
Did he struggle against the run, or did the Niners struggle against the run when he was in there? And now we're saying it was Alfred, because I think Alfred is pretty strong.
This is fair. I like him too, and he had some signature moments. He absolutely dotted big plays with big games with big plays that he made, few forced fumbles. I got no problem with Alfred Collins. As a matter of fact, beyond Upton Stout, I think he might be their best rookie. Third round mixed results. Nick Martin played sparingly before concussions cost him the season. Upton Stout is limited as a smaller corner, lacks length, but his competitiveness is contagious. He's going to fill that, have the slot covered for years to come. CJ West, Marquise Siegel received significant playing time, but didn't exactly flourish. Should remain rotational pieces as they continue their development. And then I wrote this. This is not him anymore. This is me. Neither Jordan Watkins nor Jordan James were even let on the field, basically. Curtis Rourke has yet to pay any dividends. Connor Colby gets my official grade of meh, which is about a C-, I would say. And Junior Bergen basically never even made it out of Montana. So total non-factor. I think the C- grade, Larry, is actually fair for what they did, but is an unfair projection on a couple of players and who they might be. I really like Upton Stout. I do like Alfred Collins. I am hoping that CJ West really takes a big step forward in year two. If he takes a step backward in year two, we're not going to see much of CJ West at all. And that's just how it goes. I was very excited for Trace Jackson Davis joining the Warriors. He didn't do much. CJ West, year one. I like him. Didn't do much. I think this is a fair grade, but it's not a grade that was exactly earned all on their own. The circumstances around all these rookies, I think, played a big factor into their grades.
See, I think it's a first of all, it's a stupid exercise. It's like you don't sit there and say who's the player of the game at the end of the first quarter. So why would you say who's the player of the game at the end of one draft year? Also, every year is not like every other year, and every team is not like every other team. There's opportunity on some teams, and other teams are playoff teams that have veterans, and there's not as much opportunity. If you go to a Raiders or a team that has, barren 53-man roster, if you have any talent at all, you play a lot. If you go to a team like the Niners, you might have a ton of talent, and you don't play at all. So I look at it this way. You got 10 players that I think are going to be on the team going forward, probably, for the next, 3 or 4 years. 10.
Well, players. It's about the second contract. Which one of these guys signs a second contract with the 49ers?
I think lots of them do. But I mean, it's too early to say. But the thing is, here's the bottom line. You can easily go, oh, Nick Martin sucks. He didn't play. But in reality, he played one game and he had 7 tackles in 14 snaps. So then he had concussion problems. And then he also got caught up in a numbers game and and whatever, he didn't find his way to the field. I think it's too early to say he's a bust. CJ West, heck, this guy obviously didn't talk to Jordan Elliott, because I was talking to Jordan Elliott at the end of the year, and he was standing at his locker just absolutely incredibly wowed by the year that CJ West put on, and how he kept getting better and better and stronger, and how he felt like he might have been their best interior player by the end of the year, veteran or rookie. So I think that's a harsh grade on West, calling him a rotation player who's not going to start. I disagree. I think he's probably going to be their starter at defensive tackle. I also think that Watkins clear. I mean, I was there, so I know it happened. I saw Watkins and I saw Jordan James this summer contribute. Now, on a veteran laden, crew, they didn't get on the field much, but I really don't think that I would, I mean, it's about opportunity.
We saw Isaac Guerendo contribute in training camp. Meant nothing.
It's about opportunity.
Absolutely nothing to the team.
It's about opportunity, though. No, he didn't contribute like these guys contributed. Isaac Guerendo falls down and can't, he's just out there in open spaces. These guys can play football. Isaac Guerendo didn't do shit in college football. Jordan Watkins had 9 touchdowns in the SEC. They're not the same thing at all. Siegel started a playoff game on the road and played really well. Curtis Rourke got a redshirt year. Connor Colby was a 7th round offensive lineman that started multiple games in games that they won. So I can't sit there and say, oh my God, he's a disaster. So, I mean, and then when you look at the sheer volume of this class, yeah, Bergen was a swing and a miss for sure. I mean, I can say that definitively. And Rourke maybe as well. But you know what? They've got 8 for sure's there, that for sure NFL players, in my opinion. And there's no way I'm giving a team a C minus after 1 year. Now, when they have 8 players, if they had a short draft, or if they cut 3 of their draft picks, or if it was obvious that 3 of their guys were clear busts, and they only had 6 or 7 picks, then you say, well, what's the overall impact of this? But when you have 10 guys who potentially could be on this roster in year 2 or 3, and you're giving it a C minus, I think that's too harsh of a grade.
Again, it was a harsh grade. I think it's a grade that fits a level of production, but the level of production was probably muted by everything else that was going on around them. And when you ask all these rookies to contribute in a big production way, like there's no bunny slope for you to even learn on. There's no pizza slice and French fries. So you just got to go like a official slalom course right away. It's asking, these guys were put in a bad situation. It would have been great if there were some more individual production attached to it. But I do like some of these guys. Again, it's a harsh grade for what was a harsh year, but I think there is some reality to it. And now I get the latest mock draft. I saw Charles Davis, whatever that's worth, gave it a mock draft for NFL.com. And he's got the Niners taking Kenyon Sadiq, the 6'3", 245-pound tight end out of Oregon. Maybe the most interesting thing about him, Larry, is he's only 20 years old. He's still very, very young. 51 catches, 560 yards, 8 touchdowns. The number 1 tight end on the board in this draft, according to just about any evaluation you're going to find anywhere online. High effort, not a dominant blocker in any way, shape, or form. First-round talent, absolutely a modern pass-catching tight end in the modern NFL for sure. Now, you can tell Charles Davis was just trying to be nice here because he said, quote, "The 49ers specialize in selecting players that perfectly fit the vision for where they're going as a team." I don't know, Charles, if that's the right way to sum that up, but Sadiq is a special talent who will have an all-pro tight end to emulate in George Kittle. I like the player. I'm not opposed to the player. I just hate him at number 1, and because he doesn't help the Niners on the line of scrimmage, I think it's the wrong pick. I think they have to be on the line of scrimmage on their first pick in this draft, whether it be a defend edge rusher, another D tackle. I'll give you possibly a stud linebacker or an offensive lineman. I just don't think that I don't think there's much of a difference between Kenyon Sadiq's promise and what Jake Tongas can give you in this upcoming year.
Well, I mean, Sadiq is this year's move tight end. He's had a really good year. He's very talented. He'll be drafted in the first round,
For sure.
probably in the 20s. Um, I we'll see. I mean, he maybe he'll be their pick. He's definitely the highest rated tight end. Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt had a really good year. He's also a very good receiving tight end. I kind of like Stowers a little bit more based on like where he's going to go in the draft. Where Sadiq's considered to go in the 20s, Stowers may go closer to 50. I don't know. I'm personally, I think it's this is a position I wouldn't fill in the draft, or I wouldn't try to fill it with one of the top guys. I just not that I don't like Sadiq, I do like Sadiq, and not that I don't like Stowers, I like Stowers, but I just think that I there's it's a thinking position, right? And for the 49ers, you have to have the mental horsepower to really be able to crunch all the variables. And there's a level of detail that has to go into your evaluation. You have to know exactly, what kind of mental power these guys have because there's a lot of factors, there's a lot of shifts and motions and there's a reason that Cam Latu struggled and some guys struggle and they're really athletic. So I actually think that I just on preference, I think I would look to fill the tight end spot, either not in the draft or definitely not in the first round. Some of the guys that I really like in this draft at tight end are further down the list. I like Marlon Klein from Michigan. If you look at what AJ Barner did this year coming out of Michigan for Seattle, I think Klein can do a lot of those same things. For whatever team he goes to, he's projected to be a day 3 tight end. So I like the value there a little bit better. The other guy that I'm really hot to trot on in this draft at tight end is Russell Maryland's son, RJ Maryland, probably Russell Jr., who played at SMU. He's also a day 3 guy, maybe going to be an undrafted guy. I also think that this is going to be a position to watch in the next 2 or 3 weeks as guys get lopped off. I've looked at a lot of projections on cap casualties, and there's at least 5 or 6 really good tight ends on that list. Cole Kmet, TJ Hawkinson.
Well, I think you're on to something with Isaiah Likely.
Tommy Tremble.
I think Isaiah Likely could be that sweet spot of good player at the right price who you don't mind investing in. And he's young enough to where you're going to give him a multi-year deal. And he's kind of, I don't know if anyone's going to be Kittle's heir apparent. That's how good Kittle is. But he would be the next guy beyond George Kittle.
Once again, we're shopping in free agency off the top shelf. I mean, that it's literally it's Pitts from Atlanta. He's probably going to be the number 1 tight end. Likely from Baltimore is going to be the number 2 tight end. So you're not going to get a deal there. He's going to be very, very, very expensive. You can go after some free agents, but probably more like 2 or 3, or 4. So if that's where you want to go, spend your free agent money at tight end, then go for it. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna Isaiah Likely. I mean, I'll just show it to you right now. Of all the players out there in the free agent market, they project Likely to make. Let's see, that's a lot. He is going to make market value. They're saying 8.8 million AAV. So, so if you want him, you're probably looking at 3 years, maybe 25 million, something like that. 3 years, 30 million, maybe. If there's bidding involved, it's funny too, because a lot of people, Dieter thinks that the tight end they're going to go for is Likely's teammate, and Baltimore, Charlie Kohler, who's, a tight end who's quite a bit cheaper, who was Brock Purdy's teammate at Iowa State. To me, Kohler is just kind of like just an okay guy.
Well, again,
if Likely is much more of a
if they're going to lose Likely, why wouldn't Baltimore be re-signing Kohler?
Well, Baltimore has Mark Andrews. Baltimore has some other guys at that position, and they're supposedly got some cap problems. So, they may, and they're not. I'm not saying they won't. I mean, who knows? But just looking at looking at the tight end class, it looks like it's Pitts. The guys who are going to project to make a lot of money would be like Travis Kelce, Njoku, Dallas Goedert, Pitts. There's a few others, but likely he's definitely, he's in that $8-9 million range.
Well, if there was a lesson,
if you want to sign, you could probably sign 3 or 4 free agents. I think they will be more active this year than last year. Then the question is, where do you want to sign him? You want to sign him at tight end? I like the idea of going free agent, tight end free agent or tight end trade, because I think there's going to be some good options there. But they have a lot of needs, so it's like
I would like to see
them. You can't sign the top tier free agent at every spot. That's for sure.
Tongas, you're our receiving tight end. Farrell, you are the blocking tight end, and guess what? Kyle Juszczyk, if you're back, you're a tight end now. We need you at tight end more than we need you at fullback, to be totally honest with you. And you're going to have to be a little bit of a hybrid between the two. I think that's how they kind of have to sign that. And
I'd cut Farrell. I've seen enough. I don't need to see any more of Farrell. I'd move on from Farrell and hit this and get a veteran. A Tommy Tremble, a Charlie Kohler. You mentioned Likely, Adam Troutman. I mean, and then there's going to be a bunch of guys who are lopped off in the next 3-4 weeks. So I definitely would. They need multiple tight ends, to be honest, because I don't think Braden Willis is good, and I don't think Farrell's very good. So what do you got?
Situation, is Pline going to be turned into anything?
No, he doesn't play on the team anymore, but yeah, he's on the Saints.
That's right. He's gone.
But
now.
I mean, they really. I mean, think about it. They have Kittle, who tore his Achilles in the playoffs, vows to be ready by week 1. That's crazy. That's not happening. And then you have Willis, who can't play. You have Farrell, who's a stiff. You have Tonjas, who's not much of a blocker. That's all you got. So I mean, they need probably 2 players here. They probably need that hulking blocker, and they need somebody who can catch. And preferably, if you could get it in the same guy, that would be the best. If you could find a blocker that also had some hands, kind of a little bit more of an all-around guy, so you're not kind of giving away what you're doing. But yeah, I would say over-under on Niner additions at tight end are 2.5.
We want to thank everyone for being here. Hit like and subscribe. Thank you so much to my sponsors, the Dubliner, who is re-upping for the coming up remainder of the year. So happy to have the Dubliner back. My friend Ike's of Ike's Sandwiches, thanks to him as well. Both of our channels are brought to you by Sleeper. Now have straight up game picks. I hope you took the Celtics last night over the Warriors. That was the right play. I did. I took it was Celtics. Talk about easy money.
It was Celtics -6, and they actually only covered by 5 points because they won by 11, but they had been winning by 20.
They were up to 30, right, at one point.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that tells you. I mean, the spread was 6, and they covered by 5 points, and as you said, they were up by 30. So. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Check them out there in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket chili. Say hi to Damon and Mary, and check them out in Petaluma, where they're going to open in 2026. Damon also mentioned Sleeper. Quick shout out to our friends at Sleeper. You already know Sleeper for fantasy football and daily fantasy, but they've also rolled out this new thing called Team Picks, and it's built right into the Sleeper app. It lets you make simple predictions and on game outcomes. So instead of worrying about player stats and setting lineups, you're just choosing which team you think is going to win. It's really easy. It's designed to be easy and straightforward and easy to understand, especially if you like following games but don't want to deal with all that extra complexity. So if you're already on Sleeper for fantasy, it's right there. It's right there waiting for you. And if you're new, Sleeper continues to be an all-in-one platform, following your teams and staying connected to the action. Also, thanks to Pig and a Pickle, or I should say not Pig and a Pickle, but Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles, one of our sponsors for our spring training trip. We are wheels up for Scottsdale next Wednesday, or next Thursday, I should say.
Nice.
So we'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. and Monday. And fired up. We've got a couple sponsors. We're really fired up to be going. We're going to do some interviews in the Giants clubhouse. We're going to play some golf. We're going to take in some Cactus League. We're gonna have a good old time. So looking forward to our trip to Scottsdale next week. We'll do some streams in the evenings. Probably talking a lot about the free agent market and the combine. The combine begins next week on the 26th. So we will do Thursday and Friday and Saturday updates and shows from Scottsdale.
All right. Sounds good. We'll have Leisure Suit Larry in Scottsdale. Have a great time, man.
Yeah.
So look, I was just looking this up to see how quickly and how big these things grow. The 2020 NFL salary cap was $198 million. This year, the salary cap is going to be $303 million. And right now, the 49ers are about $42 million under the cap. So they got a little wiggle room there. And the truth is, the cap is very real and very imaginary all at the same time. We just found out again this week, one of the bigger stories coming out of football was the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs restructured Patrick Mahomes, Larry. His cap number went from 78.2 down to 34.6. The Chiefs did $43.56 million in salary cap. And when you really look at this league and how this operates now, it's almost great. Obviously, in your perfect world, you've got a quarterback on a rookie deal and you can spend huge on the rest of your team. But when you got a guy like Purdy, whose number, again, is not an offensive cap number, when you got a guy like Kittle, now you're going to have to sell this to a guy like Bosa. These guys basically become ATMs for their own team to go get more cap space out of. All they got to do is restructure deals, and boom, just like that, you got millions of more dollars of cap room to play from. I think one of the things that the 49ers do this year is go to every single one of their top contracts and just say, look, guys, we all need you. We need to restructure. We need to spend to make this better, and we need to do it now. And all of you should be up for it, you older guys, because time's running out here. Time's running out on this. So you should be willing to do this.
Well, they've already done it. They've already restructured all these guys. I mean, the advantage of that is you have to have players on a second contract, signed a big money deals that you don't mind extending and having on your roster longer. That's what the Chiefs just did with Mahomes. He's on a second contract. They extended him. They restructure. They turn bonus into base, funnel more guaranteed dollars his way. He's okay with it, but you got to have a player, and he's got to have contractual years coming up that you can play with. And the Niners don't have a lot of players that they have players that can restructure, but they don't have a lot of players that they actually want to restructure. When I say that, they don't have a lot of players that they want to commit to.
Right. Kick the can down the road for several more years.
Right. I mean, they've already done this with Warner and Bosa and CMC and Trent, and they don't really want to extend any of those guys' guarantees into the future any more than they already are. So I don't think the Niners are going to be doing a lot of restructuring. They might do one or two, but it won't be extensive.
What I do know is they're going to need to find value. And when I look at free agent dollars, there's not a lot of value to be found at coveted wide receivers, right? I mean, I saw today that Alex Pierce, who both you and I think would fit on the 49ers, he'd certainly fill a need. He's going to be looking at like $100 million 4-year long contract. So that is probably, top shelf shopping. You can't really do that. Parker Hurley of Sports Illustrated says that Spotrac projects Christian Kirk to sign a 1-year deal worth just over $5 million. Now, Kirk has been oft injured in Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a tough team to evaluate at all times for many reasons. This was one of the big Trent Baalke moves back in the day. So this could be the ghost of Trent, but not at the amount of money that I gave him. The figure is certainly manageable. It's basically what the Niners just broke off for Demarcus Robinson last offseason. The 49ers would be securing a player with a much higher production ceiling if and when healthy. He just had a very ho-hum year, but in the playoff game, he was fantastic for the Houston Texans.
What did he do? Really? I don't remember.
Big playoff game, couple of touchdowns.
Yeah, and he fits the profile of what they're looking for. He's a vertical threat. Yes, Trent Baalke dramatically overpaid for him, but you know what? Doesn't mean that he wouldn't be a good fit on the Niners right now. Receiver, we talked about this. This is a position more than any other where you really need to have complementary pieces, and he would complement what they have for sure.
Right. They wouldn't be asking him to carry the entire offense. They'd be asking him to stretch the field. Hurley sums it up saying Kirk is not the perfect solution. He's not a long-term cornerstone, but at the right cost, he represents a low-risk, medium-reward addition. To me, that sounds really good. That sounds like what the 49ers need. I was looking at something that, and I know you got to get going here because you're doing a show on KNBR this morning, right, Larry?
Yeah, I'm sitting in for Papa with Greg Silver at 10 today, so
okay,
we'll have to be jumping.
We got a few more minutes here.
Yeah.
You and I both have great regard for the job that Warren Sharp does. We like his work very much.
Yeah.
And he was just talking about explosive plays and how important they are to generate in the NFL when it just comes to, did you get points after this drive? Yes or no? So in 2025, and again, no small sample size here. This is all the data's in. This is every drive, every play. Here it is. In 2025, Larry, if a drive had 0 plays of 15 or more yards, in other words, no explosive plays, there was a 16% score rate, a 6% touchdown rate, and points per drive were under a point, 0.7. If any drive had just 1 play of 15 or more yards, you have a 61% score rate, which is the highest in a quarter century. You have a 36% touchdown rate and 3.3 points per drive. Again, you are getting more than a field goal in every drive that you average at least one 15-yard play in it. This is why the 49ers got to get better at wide receiver. But more importantly, Larry, I think explosive plays are not generated from wide receiver. I think they're generated from your offensive line. And it's about buying time for Purdy to make these plays downfield. Now, we can talk about separation, and we'd both be right saying they need better separators. But to me, this is a timing issue more than it is a fast wide receiver issue. Shanahan does run guys open if he's got the time to do it. And I just think that this is more blinking neon light, emergency level O-line, get better, build a fortress around Brock Purdy. And if you're looking for anything out of Christian McCaffrey next year, your offensive line has to improve. The numbers on McCaffrey's workload and what that projects to at his age are not good, Larry. They are not good. Niners Wire, our friend, our buddy at Niners Wire, our pal Kyle Madsen, did a really interesting breakdown about historically what happens over the last 25 years when a player has as many touches as Christian McCaffrey's had. It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better, but for one guy like LaDainian Tomlinson, who was still in the peak of his career during all of that. So explosive plays mean offensive line to me, I think, even more than anything else. And I hope that the 49ers are thinking about this every day between now and the NFL draft.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's like we could just say they have a lot of needs. They have. I'll say this. I mean, yes, the offensive line is a problem, and they need to upgrade it. There's no question about that. They have. I think they're going to need a brand new starting left guard. I think they need a center. But they also, what was startling watching it is how little separation their receivers got. And you're totally right about CMC and the workload. So I mean, they need primary guys. They need primary receivers, primary linemen, primary backs, primary tight ends. They need a lot. They need a lot. That's why the whole, trade it all for Max. It's like, that doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense, because you could have a great defensive end, but then you're going to have a bunch of undrafted guys at all these other spots. I think the smarter play is probably to trade back and make a really good deal for Mac Jones. Make some creative deals. Bleacher Report's got a projection up for Ayuk in a deal that would net the Niners like a 6th-round pick. I mean, everything anybody you can get a pick for that you're not using, get a pick. I'll tell you I was just spitballing this because I was looking at how all these quarterbacks are going to land and who's going where. And supposedly everybody wants to go to Minnesota, and Minnesota may have their pick of quarterbacks because everybody wants to go there. What do you think of this as a trade? Three-way deal, which you don't see a lot, but a three-way deal surrounding Minnesota getting Brandon Ayuk and Kyler Murray. Okay. The Arizona Cardinals getting Mac Jones and Ricky Pearsall. And the Niners getting Jordan Addison from Minnesota, Michael Wilson from Arizona, and draft picks from Arizona and Minnesota.
I'd be more interested in Michael Wilson than Addison, who I just don't think is going to be a 49er with his off-the-field problems, and he stumbles into a cop as often as he does a first down. So that's probably not going to happen.
I don't know. I
mean, the Niners are going to be trading Ricky Pearsall. I don't care how much you think it's going to happen or how much it's reported it's about to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, somebody who knows more about it than you whispered to me, you know what, this is going to happen. That's the only reason I've said it's going to happen. I'm not wishing for it to happen. I'm just sharing what people who are really close to the team.
Right. I'm not saying you got the wrong information. Yeah. I'm just saying, even with that information, I still don't think it's going to happen. Renardo Green, maybe. Jair Brown, maybe. Ricky Pearsall, I just think is, picking off a bush where you need shit to grow on, not pick stuff off of yet. So,
yeah. I just. But if you don't like the player, I mean, here's the bottom line. It's like, yeah, they don't need to trade any corners either. You know what I mean? Last I checked, they don't have a super deep cornerback group either, but they're on the verge of trading Renardo Green, their second round pick. Neither of these trades on the surface should make sense. You're right. Pearsall, you need more receivers, not less. And Green, you need more corners, not less. But as I said in December, somebody who's somebody who's really close to the team said those two guys are going to be traded in the offseason. So we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, anything can happen. How about this? The Niners aren't in a position to not consider. They should be considering everything. They should be playing like an open hand of Uno, as we're teaching our boys how to play Uno. We're playing these open hands of Uno. And we're teaching everything, and we need to consider everything, and you need to look at this from all sorts of different angles, and we're teaching boys strategy. It's great. I love playing Uno with the 6-year-old and the 4-year-old. But then you realize that when you just don't have the right cards, you're in trouble. and how many right cards do the 49ers actually have? There's times when I think about their future and I say, it still looks really good. And there's other times where I say to myself, shit, they are really, really behind the Rams and the Seahawks. And it just all feels like it's going in the wrong direction here. These are crucial seasons. Like, the next 2 years of the Shanahan era will either be outstanding or the last 2 years of the Kyle Shanahan era. They really will be. This is crunch time. It's the time to hope for a big, brighter future is over. It's deliver time. And are the Niners really in position to turn around with one good draft class and one free agent class and say, here we are to deliver again? We're a 14-win team flirting for a 1 seed. See you in the playoffs, everybody.
It's going to take a tremendous effort for the 49ers to get off the deck and become really good. They're going to have great trades, smart signings, a tremendous draft. They're going to have to be a big player in free agency. They're going to have to sign 3 or 4 impact guys. They're going to have to make a bigger commitment to spending than they did last year, for sure.
The 3-team trade that you just talked about, even though I don't think it's got a chance of ever happening, I think I'd do that trade. I mean, I would.
Well, I would
do that trade.
I've read that Minnesota's going to wind up with Kyler. I'm trying to think, where would Mac Jones go? And I think Arizona makes a lot of sense, but the Niners have to be well compensated to send Mac Jones to the Arizona Cardinals, because in my opinion, Mac Jones is better than Sam Darnold. So you got to get ready to send a Super Bowl winning type quarterback away. You're going to get more. The Cardinals are going to pay more than, if they're getting Ricky Pearsall and Mac Jones in this trade, they got to be paying more than Kyler Murray and Michael Wilson. It has to be some form of a pick. But if you're the Niners, Ricky's doing nothing for you. Ayuk's doing nothing for you. Mac probably is a luxury item that you can no longer afford. Addison and Wilson would give you the kinds of speed at receiver that you lack. And I also think that you could probably get a day 2 pick from both Minnesota and Arizona. And if I'm the Niners, that's the kind of deal I want. I want to have a couple day 2 picks. I'd like to have a couple players I could plug in. And if I get that, I'm willing to move down the road on those 3 guys. But I understand what people are, people are like, oh, you can't move Ricky because Ricky what? Because Ricky what? Because Ricky's got 1 more year in his contract. Guys get traded on rookie contracts. Jacksonville may move Brian Thomas. Heck, I'd flip him. I'd flip him to Jacksonville for Brian Thomas tomorrow in a heartbeat.
Our problems for your problems. I would do that too.
Yeah, why not? You could did it with AJ Jenkins. All right. Dunn says, wait, and I only have 8 minutes here. He says, good morning, Damon and Larry. If the 49ers don't find a way to win a Super Bowl in the Kyle Shanahan era, I got the next documentary they'll be working on, The Embarrassment of the Niners.
Well, so instead of the rise of the Niners, it'll be the lowering of the Niners.
I see you working, and we got this one too. I know people hate Garendo now, but he did go for 40-plus yards 8 to 10 times last year simply because he's really fast. Too bad 2 preseason fumbles means you suck. No, it's not. It's not the 2 preseason fumbles. Dude, I'm telling you, I go to every single practice. He fumbled 3 times in a practice. The next day, they traded for Brian Robinson. So Kyle Shanahan doesn't like to see fumbles. And you saw the fumbles in the game. But he sees the fumbles in practice, too.
And he had a fumble on special teams. I mean, he had a fumble on special teams that cost the Niners precious field position in a game that they were trying to climb back into. I can't remember the details of it right now.
He has just no feel for the game. I would look to move Garendo as well. I mean, if there's somebody who's in love with Garendo, man, I would absolutely make that deal as fast as
100%. 100%.
Thanks to Habbas Law, 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. HabbasLaw.com on the web. Thanks to Habbas Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Man, when you need a lawyer, you need a good one. Simple as that. 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. HabbasLaw.com on the web. They're great PI attorneys. They're rooted here in the community, and they battle insurance companies and beat them with regularity. So check them out. 1-800-INJURED, HabbasLaw.com.
Larry, let me congratulate you. It's not often, we get to talk about my alma mater, won a national championship in football. We play at Purdue today. Let's go. Big game for Indiana basketball today. But I'd like to congratulate your alma mater, Sac State, for the single worst deal in the history of football to join the MAC freaking conference. The one school here, let me just show you this. There's your map of the MAC conference, Larry. And now there's one green dot in Sacramento, and the deal is $23 million to join a C- conference, $6 million to be paid in the first year, and you pay every team's travel expenses. You really wanted to be in the MAC, huh? Jeez, God almighty.
I saw that. But I mean, come on, man. This is a team that was FCS not that long ago. Now they're in the MAC. Way to go, Sac State. But I saw that they will be paying all the travel expenses of all the teams in the conference. How could that be cost efficient? How could that be cost effective?
And let me just say, what are you going to do? You're going to turn around and sell a whole bunch of tickets to Sac State UMass? Is that going to pack them into their new stadium? You're going to be excited that the Salukis are coming to town? We sold this place out, 60,000. No freaking way.
I mean, it's big time. It's big time. I'll say that. I mean, so that's a major step up for Sac State as far as quality of conference. But yeah, I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's
go with God, Larry. Go with God. Stingers up. Hey, thanks to everyone for watching. It was a short one today, by design of Larry's time, and also it's like one of the slowest news weeks in the world. Thank God for college basketball and the Winter Olympics and a Porzingis debut last night. Why are you bringing Porzingis off the bench? You can manage minutes from a starter role too. He's going to be a starter. Start Porzingis. What are the Warriors are just too cute with everything. I swear to God, you trade for this guy to come off the bench, my ass. Start Porzingis. Good God, what are they doing?
Well, I'll tell you what they're doing. They laid down like lambs last night. It was Celtics -6. That was easy money. They covered for fun, even though it was close at the end. But yeah, I mean, Celtics -6 last night was a gimme.
Larry and I will be back on Monday morning with Wake Up at 9 a.m. West Coast time. Hopefully something big in football happens between now and Monday morning. In the meantime, Larry, go have a great show with Mike Silver and
Greg Silver.
Greg Silver, pardon me, with Greg Silver, Mike Silver unavailable, Greg Silver available. Have a good show. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.
Go out there and break your knee. Go out there and tear a hammy. Go out there and just go out there.